Okay, folks, so here we are again, and we have just finished verifying that we have targeted the content that we wanted to. Now, in this case, I'm not interested in getting a specific borough. I want everything. So that makes actually my next task quite simple, right? Because all I'm looking to do is just grab every link on the page. In this case, so what that means is that I can just create a variable called, I'll call it all links, and I'm going to take that data div, and I can use the find all mechanism from, find all, and all I'm going to look for is anchor tags. Quite simple, and a simple loop. And again, I'm just going to go ahead here and check that I'm getting what I think I should be getting. So I use a print. I just use a print statement for that. What I want to look at, the thing that interests me, obviously, and I can always bot back to my saved version here, is the contents of the href tag. In doing this, again, if I come back to the beautiful soup documentation, I can look back at how I'm going to look for things by attribute. And I can see that I use a sort of named index strategy here. So I'm going to infer that what I want to see is the href value. Okay. And again, if all I get is a list of URLs, then I'm happy for now. We'll worry about filtering the XLSX files from the PDFs in just a moment. So again, come back over to my terminal. Whoops. Give this a whirl. And so far, so good, right? It looks like I've basically not got a lot of cruft in here. Everything seems to be coming back fine. So now, few things, right? First of all, I want to create a regular expression that is going to distinguish my PDF files from my XLSX files, or vice versa, because what I really want are the XLSX files. And then I also just want to write these to a file. So the regular expressions are obviously built into Python, but you do need to manually import them. The library is called RE for regular expression. And what I prefer to do is, so the regular expressions actually have to be compiled in Python. I prefer to create them at the top of my file. I just find it easier to keep track of them that way. You can obviously do them in line, but I think it's, especially given the syntax of the way that they're used in Python, I find that frankly pretty confusing. So I always like to make my variable name something that is in the affirmative. So in this case, I'm going to say is XL. Okay, and I'm going to do the RE compile function. Okay, and I'm going to construct this in pretty much the way you would expect. So inside the quotes, again, since all I care about is the XLSX file extension, I can just say any character any number of times, but make sure it ends in that XLSX. Make sure you spell XLSX correctly, because if you transpose it, obviously it won't work. So now I can do this a number of ways. I think what I'm going to do is just come down here and just say if it matches the regular expression, then print it, and then once I've confirmed that, I'll just create a file to write to. So the syntax with compiled regular expressions, which again I just find handy because kind of gets my regexes out of the way. I can use them anywhere in the file that I like, et cetera, et cetera. It's more organized. And so what I want to look for is, I think I'm looking for match, right? And obviously I am printing. What I'm matching against is, so the syntax is regular expression and then dot match and then the string that you're matching against. And if that works out, then I want to print it. So again, just to reiterate what my goal is here, if everything matches correctly, then I will, then the only links that I should see in this terminal run are ones that end in XLSX. So let's see how I did. Looks pretty good. So fortunately, there's really not much left for me to do from here on this, at this moment. Obviously, this is one of, an infinite variety of web structures, and I definitely recommend that you kind of get used to experimenting with Beautiful Soup a little bit. Obviously, it's an ad hoc process, so it's going to depend on the page that you find, the structure that it has, and what it takes. Obviously, web scraping can be pretty hacky sometimes because there's often not really rhyme or reason to the way that web pages are displayed, although newer web pages tend to be a bit better for that than older ones. But just for the sake of completeness, I'm going to go ahead and create so I'm just going to say I prefer to copy and paste where I can. I'm going to treat this as a CSV. I'm not even going to actually bother to make it a proper CSV, but I'm going to just call this NYPD January file list CSV. Okay, and instead of a print here, I'm going to do a link list.write. Okay, and again, kind of hacking it here, but I'm just going to manually add a new line there. So what I should get in the end, again, it's not really a CSV. It would be if there was more than one column, but or it is a CSV with only one column, therefore no commas. So I'm just manually adding a character return to the end of each line that I write, on the idea that once I finish that, I'll just open it up as an Excel file. And I will be, again, complete here in closing my file. And then we should be all set. So let me give this one more run. We'll take a look at the output, and then I will look forward to answering any questions you all have next week. So if I come here, I should now find, I'll just open it with this. So looks okay so far, right? Every line has its own Excel file. So what would we do next? Obviously, we would probably want to download each one of these files. And the point that I want to emphasize here is that from a strategic point of view, don't bother making monolithic programs that do all the things. I strongly encourage you all, as you're approaching web scraping or virtually any other kind of data parsing or cleaning related task, make yourself some little modular scripts. Ones like this, where basically all it does is download the stuff, right? You could even have a script that all it does is just download files, or a list, open. The next task here, right, would be to create another Python script where all it would do is basically open a file, read each line, and download the target file from the internet and save it in a folder, right? And you can make that as elaborate as you want. You could have it create a new folder every time it runs. But the point is that those are the kinds of tasks you're going to end up doing over and over and over again. So it's handy to have some kind of some template scripts that you can easily modify, just change the target URL, and tweak a few things about the identifiers that it searches for, and then you're kind of good to go on this stuff. So that's all for now. I look forward to seeing you all next week when we will address web scraping.